liberals have learned absolutely nothing from the election of Donald Trump. You would think that they would regroup, rethink their strategy, and try something else. But they learned nothing. They're literally doing the same exact thing, and not only are they doing the same thing, they're doing it even worse. So, basically, they ran on Trump is a racist. I'm talking about the last election. They ran on Trump is a racist. You know, Hillary ran on I'm a woman. And that's mainly it. I mean, there were some other things in there, like, you know, abortion, obviously, and healthcare. There are issues that will always come up every election cycle. But her message was, you know, her slogan was, I'm with her. It was like, oh, it's about she's a woman. It was more about her being a woman than it was about her and all of her years of experience as a politician. Which I thought, you know, at the time, because I didn't vote for neither of them, but at the time I thought, well, all her years of experience as a politician is like her best thing. Looking back now, understanding the climate we were in, that was actually one of the worst things. But at the time, I thought that was like her best talking point or her best selling point. Donald Trump thing was make America great again. And the things he talked about were very practical. It was like, hey, why would you give tax cuts to foreign countries as opposed to American countries? That's going to ruin business. And, you know, things like that. And hey, there's ideologies. There are people with ideologies entering the country that are contrary to American values. So we need to look at this. We need to put America first and stop trying to put other countries first. That's a common sense argument. That's not racist or anything. So Donald Trump won. And this is the problem. And this is what they did and what they're doing even worse now. Instead of actually listening to people who supported Trump, they made up their own narrative. And then they got upset at the own narrative that they made up. So this is what they did. They created a hostile environment where they demonized people who supported Trump. And because of that environment, people that supported Trump oftentimes would not vocalize it. So you would have surveys and polls and all this stuff, which they don't really mean nothing anyway. But you would have these polls and surveys where people wouldn't say that they supported Trump. People get tired of being criticized on their job or criticized by their friends and family and not misunderstood. So because liberals are so hostile, Trump supporters in many cases went underground. They just wouldn't talk about it. So liberals got all hyped. Oh, nobody supports Trump. Then after Trump won, liberals made up the idea that he concluded with Russia based off the fact that not many people were publicly saying that they supported Trump, but that was because of the hostile environment that the liberals themselves created. So they made this whole mess for themselves. And then when Trump was found, and then they hyped up the Russia collusion, knowing it wasn't there, but hoping it was there, because they assumed that nobody actually voted for Trump or wanted to vote for Trump or whatever else, or oh, it must have been just racism that led people to follow him, and whatever kind of, they made up all of this nonsense other than the fact of Trump had things that talked about putting America first that logically Americans would like. That's just common sense. They went to everything but that. So now they spent all of this time hyping up the Russia collusion. They spent all this time going out of their way even more to say how racist Trump is. And it's backfiring on them even more, especially when Trump, for the most part, has kept his promises and the economy's doing good. And he's, in my opinion, he's doing the best that he can to try to deal with illegal immigration. And he's cut taxes, and he's fighting against the Affordable Care Act. Like, he's doing what he said he was going to do. He's literally the only president who's vowed to move the embassy to Jerusalem who's actually done it. They all gave great speeches and I'm going to do this, this is right and fair, and they cower out. Donald Trump's the only one who did it. Only one that had the guts and the integrity. to do it. So there are legitimate reasons as to why people like Trump, especially now. But the Democrats, instead of saying, hey, his policies are bad in this way and that way, they're still doing the same thing they did before. Orange man bad. Trump is racist. They're even going to the extreme of calling out for Maxine Waters, calling out for the harassment of Trump officials in public. She's publicly calling for the harassment of them. You got liberal businesses going after Trump supporters and saying, hey, you can't eat here. You can't wear that hat. Like, you think that's going to help your cause? Like, you didn't learn your lesson from last time. If intimidating or trying to intimidate Trump supporters last time only led to the surprising annihilation of your candidate, why would you up the ante? You're just going to push more people right than Trump did. Democrats made more Republicans than Trump did. I was a Democrat all my life until 2016. And in 2016, I didn't even vote for Trump. I didn't vote for neither Trump or Hillary. Because to me, I thought they were both terrible. And I didn't know anything about politics. So I was one of the people that would say, they're two sides of the same coin, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know anything. But I thought Trump was a racist because all I did was follow the media. But I thought Hillary was crooked. Now, if you look at Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Cory Booker, those kind of people, like, oh, maybe not Cory Booker, but let's just say like the established Democrats. One of the problems people had with Hillary is that people didn't want career politicians. People were fed up with the system. People were fed up with and it's crazy because it's liberals that say it. Liberals that say that the government's oppressive. The government officials are only out for themselves. It's a system designed for the elite to stay the elite. And then you go and you present a candidate who's been part of that system like her whole adult life, which is Hillary. And you're surprised why people didn't want that. You're surprised why people wanted something different, something new. And it just doesn't make any sense. People just don't have no common sense. So now they up the rhetoric. They're 10 times worse now than before Trump was hired. I mean, before he was elected. And what do you think that's going to do? When you go out of your way to make up stuff, when you go out of your way to be offended, and it's not even stuff that he said, it's stuff that y'all twisting his words or something like that. Every step of the way. When y'all blame him for a border crisis, and then he says, or Congress, let's say, says, fine, there's a crisis at the border, let's do something about it. No, wait, pause, let me back up. When he talks about the border crisis that every single president before him in recent years has talked about, and then you, mainstream media, says there is no crisis, all because you just want to beat him. You don't even care about the truth. You just want to make him look bad. So you talk about there's no crisis at the border when Obama talked about it, Biden talked about it, Chuck Schumer talked about it, Bush talked about it, Clinton talked about it. We have a border crisis at the border. We just do. So to ignore that, to attack Trump, and then when the Republicans try to do something about it, you say, oh, I'm not going to vote to give the border facilities more, what do you say, more resources. I'm going to vote against the border wall that can solve the problem. When you vote against that just to try to make him look bad, and you ignore what Americans felt. If Americans felt strongly about illegal immigration enough to support the guy, and that was like his main thing he ran on was illegal immigration and the economy. If people liked him for that, and you lost, it would be wise for you to acknowledge the importance of those things. Because every president before him talked about those same things. But no. You care more about power. You care more about getting him out of office. So you're going to just demonize him at every chance. Let me tell you, when 26 came around, I was not a Trump supporter at all. I thought he was a racist, and I didn't follow him. 2019, I can't wait for 2020. I'm voting for Trump without hesitation. I don't even give a... I'm about to cuss. I don't even give a bleep who's on the other side. I don't even care what they have to say. I'm literally not listening to not one word from any Democratic candidate at all because of what the Democrats have done. The Democrats are evil. And I believe that with every ounce of my heart. The politicians are evil. So The Democrats, even in 2016, even back when Barack Obama, even in 2015, refusing to talk honestly about Islam, refusing to deal honestly with the LGBT political movement, not just the average person who's an LGBT, but the political movement and how oppressive they are becoming. That turned me into a not Democrat during Obama. I wasn't Republican. I thought the Republicans were racist, but that turned me into a not Democrat. Come 2016, come 2017, come 2018, come 2019, now I'm a diehard Trump fan. I'm a diehard Republican. I will never vote Democrat again in my life. Democrats are headed for, they're pulling for socialism and communism. But anyway, that's a rant. So, Democrats, they haven't learned anything. And it's sad because what that tells me is that they don't have an actual platform. They have a platform of we're going to give away free stuff. And because I've actually learned about politics, because I've actually learned about political history, because I've actually learned about economy, I understand that giving away free stuff is not automatically good. It's common sense actually, but I've learned that. And they just push it. We're going to give you free stuff. We're going to give you free stuff. We're going to give you free stuff. They never deal with the cost of it. They never deal with the reality that in order to pay for just one of those free things, you have to raise taxes on everybody. They just free stuff and Trump bad. Whereas this guy, the economy is booming, unemployment is down, policies or laws are being passed to do away with some of the injustices in the prison system or the justice system, but they have a vested interest in just trying to prove that Trump is bad and evil, because that's what they ran on. They've reached a place of no return. They didn't run on policies where they could backtrack a little and say, well, okay, well, this is better, but we still have a better candidate than Trump. No, they ran on Trump as evil. So, and then they made it their mission to try to make him out to be evil. And because he's not evil, they have nothing left. They literally cannot sponsor or agree with anything that he's doing that's actually good for the country. So as a result, they literally have to attack the things that are good for the country because of the strategy that they chose. And we're not falling for it. And you don't realize, Democrats, you don't realize, Democrats can make a Republican faster than any Republican politician can.